Alright, so this is my soil testing project. Basically, I tried to create a smart plant, and I wanted to collect moisture levels on the soil with the idea of sufficiently meeting the plant's water needs. And I also added a light so that it could be interactive with the user to tell them the state that the soil was in, whether there was too much, not enough, or there was a perfect amount of water. My hypothesis was that I expected moisture levels would initially decrease at a rapid rate before plateauing. I didn't expect to have to water the plant more than once each day in order to meet the plant's needs. My approach was to collect data every 30 seconds on the moisture level of the soil, to log it and then see whether I was right or wrong on my hypothesis. And I also added a little sensor and further on that, so soil less than 300 meant that the light would blink, so it needed to be watered. Between 300 and 700 the light stayed off, meaning no attention required, and then greater than 700 the light stayed on. It meant that there was too much water in the soil. Here's the code of that blinking light. So this was just implemented into the CSV file that we were given to store values. This was brought in there, and this just illustrates the only changes that I made to the code that we were given. It was just changing those values to 30,000 so that it would log a entry every 30 seconds. These are just photos of the setup. So we've got our sensor inside the moisture on the left, inside the soil, and then on the right we have our breadboard connected to our data logger, and then also connected to the light. On the left we just Arduino set up with various cables, and then on the right we have breadboard set up with various cables. In the picture, I don't know if you can see around here, we have our yellow LED light. So as per previous slides, the data collection process was simply just I collected data every 30 seconds. It took me so much longer to set up the working product than I anticipated, so I didn't get a lot of data, unfortunately. And in doing so, I'll touch on that later. So the ethical concerns was mostly the reliability. The working project was really clunky. I would find that often I'd move it a little bit, or I'd touch something and the cables wouldn't work. Sometimes the moisture sensor was really unreliable. I was only collecting zeros or ones, or just giving random values. It was unreliable. So my hypothesis about it decreasing rapidly before plateauing, it didn't. It decreased so slowly. It was decreasing at a rate where it would take almost 6 days for it to need water, which I don't think is correct. I think, having not set the plant up outside, I think that's what maybe stuffed me up. But yeah, I didn't need to like, it was true, I didn't need to water it more than once per day. Challenges and lessons learned. It was challenging to get everything working at once. It was really easy testing each different part individually, but getting it all together at once was frustrating, and I was surprised at all the debugging. Like, sometimes you'd have to test the moisture sensor to see if that worked, and then test the code, and then see if the code was interacting with the light, and there was just so much bugging. It was you needed to be very procedural in the way that you did it. And lastly, I wouldn't collect 30 data every 30 seconds. It's too much. It only needed to happen once per hour maximum. And I forgot to touch on that with the data collection process. So because my first value was 817, and then I think maybe 56 hours later it was 735. There wasn't enough decrease for there to be much point for me to provide any visual representation, so I haven't done that. I hope that's okay. I apologize. Cheers.